Greetings and salutations, Greek students. We continue our study of N. Clayton Croy's Primer of Biblical Greek by turning our attention to Lesson 6, where Croy introduces us to feminine second declension nouns, masculine first declension nouns, and prepositions. So, feminine second declension nouns, most of the second declension nouns that we see, those nouns that end in that os, u, o, on, oi, on, ois, us ending that we've seen so commonly refer to masculine nouns, but there are some feminine second declension nouns. Two of the most famous, eremos, desert or wilderness, and hadas, way. So the reason this matters is, of course, you can look these nouns up in the dictionary or in a lexicon and discover, oh, these are feminine nouns. But when you're looking at adjectives or you're looking at definite articles, if you see a feminine one with these words, desert, eremos, or hadas, way, you might be confused looking for a masculine, because even though they're second declension nouns, they are feminine second declension nouns. Likewise, there are some first declension nouns that have that ace, os ending. So, classic example, prophetes, prophetu, prophete, prophetain, prophetai, propheton, prophetais, prophetas, that look as, because they're first declension nouns, your first inclination is going to be, oh, first declension noun, this is a feminine noun, but it's not. It's a masculine first declension noun. You see the same thing with neanias, young man, or mathetes, disciple. It has that ace ending, and so you think, oh, this is a feminine noun, but these are masculine first declension nouns. So we have some feminine second declension noun, eremos, hadas, which look masculine because they are second declension, and some first declension nouns which look feminine because they're first declension, but in fact they are flip-flop. So these are sort of the outliers to pay attention to recognize that not all first declension nouns are feminine, not all second declension nouns are masculine. The second and more important part of Lesson 6, maybe not more important, but equally important, novel idea in Lesson 6 of N. Clayton Croy is Introduction to Preposition. What is a preposition? Well, according to Robert Mondi and Peter Gorgon's lovely little student handbook of Greek and English grammar, they define a preposition as a word used in a phrase with a noun or other substantive expressing that noun's relationship to another word or idea. Okay, Tyler, what do you mean by that? These are relationship words, right? So when we come to our example of this circle here, this is our main thing, and if we go to or toward the circle, that's describing a movement in a direction as it relates to the circle. We could go through the circle in this preposition, so we're passing in the middle of the circle. We could come from or out of the circle. We could be by the circle. We could be in the circle. We could be over or above the circle. We could go around the circle, right? We could be against, right? We could be trying to go towards and then rub up against and come off of the circle. So these are all against, to, toward, with, through, over, above, around, out of, near, by, in preposition words. They indicate the relationship of a noun or pronoun to another part of the sentence. Prepositions can offer further clarification about the nature of the relationship between the noun and the other part of the sentence. So most prepositions in Greek occur, or many at least, occur in a single case. That is, they are exclusive to a particular case and consistently mean the same thing. So apa is always going to be followed by a genitive, and so it's going to be translated from. Ace is always going to be followed by accusative, meaning into, to, or for. Ek, always going to be followed by a genitive, out of, from, or by. En, always going to be followed by a dative, in, with, or by. Pros, always going to be followed by an accusative, to, toward, or with. So these are consistent prepositions. These are not so difficult. And then you have some of these two-case prepositions, meaning that whatever case comes after the preposition will actually change the meaning of the translation. So when you see dia plus the genitive, dia followed by a genitive, dia Christou, it's going to be through Christ. Dia Christan, on account of, because of Christ. Kata plus the genitive, kata Christou. And notice the u here in the genitive, against Christ. Kata plus the accusative, Christon, is according to Christ. Now that's quite different, against or according to. Meta with the genitive is going to be with meta followed by the accusative is after. So meta Christou, with Christ, meta Christon, after Christ. Peri with the genitive, peri Christou, about or concerning Christ, peri plus the accusative, peri Christon, around Christ. Huper, for, or huper plus the accusative, above. So huper plus the genitive, often huper hamartian or hamartias, for Jesus died for sins, that is on behalf of sins, not above huper plus hamartian, above sins, over sins. Hupa, by, the genitive, and under with the accusative. So the key to recognize here is with these multi-termination, two-case termination adjectives, you don't have to just memorize what the preposition, not adjective, preposition is. You have to memorize the preposition as it goes with whatever case follows it. Just be careful of looking at these cases to determine the meaning of these prepositions. There are some three-case adjectives. We'll learn about epi, of on or upon, in lesson 11, and para in lesson 10 later on. But there are some further down the road of these adjectives. One other thing I want to point out here, we've already seen this a little bit, so you've been noticing it, but I want to kind of give you some evidence of it now that we have a little lighter of a content in lesson 6 where we're learning these. We're not getting any new grammar content where we talk about masculine and feminine first and second declension nouns, but we're learning about how we have some examples that buck the trend that we've become used to, as well as prepositions, which in and of themselves are not difficult conceptually. It's just memorizing what they are. But when it comes to pronunciation, what we'll notice, and we'll see this in some spellings, is elision and aspiration. Greek avoids or likes to avoid two vowels in adjacent words. This is called hiatus. So when you have u, the negation, plus a vowel, it goes to uk. So in u, phaneuseis, you shall not murder, the u negates the noun, the verbs here for murder, phaneuseis. And phaneuseis, because it starts with a consonant, phan, the phi, this just remains u. But if it becomes an epsilon, the negation becomes a vowel. It's going to go from u to uk. So in Matthew 6:5, uk es esthe has hoi hypocritai. That is, you are not to be as the hypocrites. That's not how you're supposed to be. And the negation before the epsilon goes from u to uk. Now, when you have a u plus a vowel plus a rough breathing, it goes from u to uk to uks, because what you have is that uk and that vowel with the rough breathing becomes uks. So in Mark 2:7, ta sabatan diatan anthropon egenita kai uks ha anthropos dia ta sabaton. The Sabbath did not happen on account of the human, but the Sabbath happened on account of the human and not the human on account of the Sabbath. And so this negation, uk, before ha, anthropos here. The movable new, we've already seen this on page 9. When you see this new come in sometimes, Croy talks about that on page 9. Similarly, prepositions ending in vowels before words that begin with vowels, something has got to give. Meta plus angelos, the meta-a likes to allied to metangelu, with angels. Dia plus oikos, through the house, through a house, it becomes di oiku. The alpha of dia drops, it elides and disappears into the next noun. Allah, but the conjunction begins with, when the next word begins with a vowel, but, and the next word is a vowel, it elides to al. So you also have aspiration, where the rough breathing mark further augments the consonant in aspiration. Apa hadas, apa and the ha, ah and ha is hard to disconnect when you're reading it. So apa hadas becomes af hadu. And that's because the p of p with the h sound of the rough breathing becomes af, afaru. So sometimes you'll see af, and you need to pay attention. Is there a rough breathing? Because that might be our preposition apa. Meta plus hemera is going to become the t plus the h sound of the rough breathing becomes theta. So met hemera becomes methemera. Methemera. And that's just to make that sliding together of consonants easier in your pronunciation. So this is lesson 6, where we're talking about mostly prepositions and some of the interesting things that happen to pronunciation when you have prepositions coming up against vowels and other sounds in Greek, as well as introducing, as we saw at the very beginning, these examples of feminine second declension nouns and masculine first declension nouns.